The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Steadfast, cutting through the usual quiet hum of deep space. Captain Kang Doyun sat up straight in his chair, his coffee forgotten in his hand. The exploration ship had been alone in the Kepler 442 system for 3 weeks, mapping asteroids and taking mineral samples. Nothing ever happened out here. That was the point. Report, Doyun said, setting down his cup carefully. Park Ji-woo looked up from her console, her face pale. Captain, I'm reading multiple contacts, big ones, coming from the outer system. She paused, her fingers flying across the display. Sir, there are hundreds of them. Doyun stood and walked to the main view screen. At first he saw nothing but stars. Then the computer adjusted the image and his breath caught in his throat. Ships. Massive ships, each one easily 10 times the size of the Steadfast. They moved in perfect formation like a school of predatory fish cutting through dark water. How many? He asked quietly. 312, Ji-woo answered. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. Captain, they match the descriptions from the outer colonies. The Vrelith. The name hung in the air like poison. Everyone on the bridge had heard the stories. The Vrelith Empire had appeared from unknown space 5 years ago. They moved from system to system, crushing any resistance. 47 civilizations had fallen to them. Entire species had been enslaved or wiped out. And now they were here. Communications, Doyun said. Get me Proxima Station. Choi Mino worked his console frantically. I'm trying, sir. There's a lot of interference. He adjusted the frequency, then stopped. His face went even paler. Captain, Proxima Station isn't responding. But I'm picking up something else, debris, lots of it, and bodies. The bridge fell silent. Proxima Station had been home to 12,000 colonists. Now it was gone. Lee Hanna spoke from the engineering station. Captain, we need to run. Right now. We have maybe 10 minutes before they detect us. Doyun stared at the approaching fleet. The ship was small, unarmed, and built for science, not war. They had no chance in a fight. The smart thing would be to activate the faster-than-light drive and jump away. Warn Earth. Let the military handle it. But if they ran, the Vrelith would reach the inner colonies in days. Settlements that had no defenses. Families who wouldn't even know death was coming until it arrived. Navigation, Doyun said. Plot a course. Put us directly in their path. The bridge erupted. Ji-woo stood up. Sir, that's suicide. We can't fight them. I know, Doyun said calmly. But we can slow them down. For what? 5 minutes? Hanna demanded. Captain, I respect your courage, but this is crazy. We have to warn Earth. And we will, Doyun replied. He turned to face his crew. They were young, most of them. Scientists and explorers. They had signed up to study stars, not die in a pointless battle. Send out an emergency broadcast on all frequencies. Tell Earth what's coming. Tell them everything we know. Then give me a course that puts us right in front of that fleet. Minho hesitated, then nodded. His fingers danced across the console. Broadcasting now, sir. All channels. The young ensign at the weapons station, Yoon Sora, looked up. Captain, we have mining charges. Some plasma cutters. Nothing that could hurt those ships. I know, Doyun said. He sat back down in his chair and gripped the armrests. We're not going to hurt them. We're just going to make them stop and think. The Steadfast's engines flared to life. The small ship moved away from the asteroid field where it had been working and set a new course. Within minutes, it positioned itself directly in the path of the advancing Vrelith armada. On the view screen, the alien ships grew larger. Doyun could see details now. Their hulls were dark, covered in weapons. Each ship bristled with cannons and missile ports. They moved with absolute confidence like they owned the universe. They've detected us, Ji-woo reported. The fleet is slowing down. Doyun felt a small surge of satisfaction. They had noticed. That was something. Incoming transmission, Minho said. It's from the lead ship. Audio only. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It was deep and harsh, translated by the computer into something humans could understand. Human vessel. You are in the path of the Vrelith Empire. Move aside or be destroyed, Doyun stood. He took a breath and spoke clearly. This is Captain Kang Doyun of the exploration ship Steadfast. You have entered human territory. You've attacked our colonies and killed our people. We will not move aside. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, and now it sounded amused. You are one ship. We are 300. Your weapons are toys. Your shields are nothing. Move aside or die meaninglessly. Then we die, Doyun said simply. But you'll have to go through us first. Another pause. Longer this time. Jiwoo was staring at her console in disbelief. Captain, they've stopped. The entire fleet has stopped. Doyen looked at the view screen. It was true. The massive armada had come to a complete halt. 300 warships hovering in space because one small exploration vessel refused to move. Hana laughed, a sound bordering on hysteria. They actually stopped. I can't believe they actually stopped. They're confused, Jiwoo said, studying her readings. They've never had anyone stand up to them before. Not like this. They don't know what to do. How long until Earth reinforcements arrive? Doyen asked. Minho checked his console. 6 days, sir. The nearest military fleet is 6 days away. Then we hold for 6 days, Doyen said. He sat back down and crossed his arms. All stations maintain position. No one moves. No one fires. We just sit here and stare them down. Captain, Sora said quietly. They could destroy us in seconds. They could, Doyun agreed. But they haven't. And every second they waste trying to figure us out is another second for Earth to prepare. He looked around at his crew. I won't lie to you. We probably won't survive this. But what we're doing here matters. People are watching. Earth is watching. The whole galaxy is going to hear about the ship that wouldn't move. He turned back to the view screen, where the Vrelith fleet waited like a storm about to break. Let them remember us. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of consoles. Outside, in the endless dark, two forces faced each other. One was the most powerful military machine the galaxy had ever seen. The other was a single ship full of scientists who refused to run. And for the moment, impossibly, the unstoppable force had stopped. The standoff had begun. 4 hours had passed since the Vrelith fleet stopped. Inside the Steadfast, the crew moved quietly, speaking in whispers as if afraid to break whatever spell kept 300 warships from turning them into dust. Captain Kang Doyen stood at the view screen, his arms crossed, staring at the alien vessels. He hadn't moved from that spot for the last hour. Behind him, his officers worked at their stations, monitoring every sensor reading, every communication signal, every tiny movement from the fleet ahead. Park Jiwoo approached him carefully. Captain, we're receiving messages from all over human space. News networks, military channels, civilian broadcasts. Everyone wants to know what's happening here. Let them watch, Doyen said without turning around. Minho, are you still broadcasting? Yes, sir, Choi Minho replied. Live feed to every human colony in range. They can see everything we see. Good, Doyen thought. If they were going to die here, the whole species would witness it. The Vrelith would learn that humans didn't die quietly in the dark. Captain, Yoon Sora called out. Movement from the lead ship. They're launching something. Small craft. Just one. Doyen watched as a shuttle separated from the massive flagship. It was tiny compared to the warships, but still bigger than the Steadfast. The shuttle moved slowly toward them, then stopped halfway between the two forces. They want to talk, Jiwoo said. Another transmission coming in, Minho reported. He put it through. The same harsh voice filled the bridge. I am High Admiral Thexivor, commander of the Vrelith Conquest Fleet. I will speak with your captain, face to face. Meet me on the shuttle. Doyen considered this. It could be a trap. They could simply kill him and then destroy his ship, but maybe, just maybe, they were genuinely confused by the situation. Tell him I'll come, Doyen said. Alone. Captain, no, Jiwoo protested. You can't trust them. I don't, Doyen replied. But I need to look him in the eye. I need him to see that we're not afraid. He turned to face her. If they kill me, you take command. Don't move the ship. No matter what happens, don't move. 10 minutes later, Doyen was in a small shuttle flying across the empty space between his ship and the Vrelith vessel. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart hammered in his chest. He'd been in dangerous situations before, but nothing like this. The Vrelith shuttle loomed ahead. It was dark and angular, designed to intimidate. Doyen docked carefully and stepped through the airlock. The interior was dimly lit. Everything was built for creatures much larger than humans. Doyen walked down a corridor until he reached a large chamber. And there, waiting for him, was High Admiral Thexivor. The Vrelith leader was massive, easily 3 meters tall. His body was covered in thick armored scales that looked like they could stop bullets. 4 arms extended from his torso, each ending in clawed hands. His head was elongated with 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows. He looked like something from a nightmare, but Doyen didn't flinch. He walked forward and stopped a few meters away. "You are smaller than I expected," Thexfor said. His voice was like grinding stones. "You're exactly as big as I expected," Doyen replied. One of Thexfor's eyes seemed to narrow. Was that amusement, anger? Doyen couldn't tell. "I have conquered 47 worlds," the Admiral said. "I have destroyed fleets 10 times the size of your little ship. I have burned planets and enslaved billions, and yet you stand in my path with nothing. Explain this stupidity." "It's not stupidity," Doyen said calmly. "It's determination. You've killed our people. You've destroyed our colonies. We won't let you pass without a fight. You cannot fight. You have no weapons that could harm us, I know." Thexfor leaned forward. All 6 eyes focused on Doyen. "Then why not run? Why not flee and save your pathetic life?" "Because running would give you time," Doyen said. "Every minute you waste here is another minute for Earth to prepare. Every hour we delay you saves lives. You plan to sacrifice yourself for minutes? If that's what it takes." For a long moment, Thexfor said nothing. He studied Doyen the way someone might study a strange insect. Finally, he spoke again. "I do not understand your species. Every other race we have encountered has been logical. They calculate odds. They surrender when defeat is certain. But you do not think this way." "No," Doyen agreed. "We don't. I could destroy your ship right now, one shot. You would cease to exist." "Yes. And still you will not move." "No." Thexfor made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. "You are either the bravest creature I have ever met or the most foolish. I have not decided which. Does it matter?" Doyen asked. The Admiral moved closer, his enormous form towering over the human. "Here is what will happen. I will give you 1 solar rotation. 1 full day. Move your ship or I will obliterate it. This is more mercy than I have ever shown. Do you understand?" "I understand," Doyen said. "And my answer is no. You would die for nothing. Your ship will not stop this fleet. We will pass over your debris and continue to your homeworld. You will have accomplished nothing." Doyen smiled slightly. "You're wrong. We've already accomplished something. We've made you stop. We've made you think. And we've shown every human watching that the great Vrelith Empire can be challenged." Back on the Steadfast, the crew waited anxiously for their captain's return. When his shuttle finally docked, they rushed to meet him. "What happened?" Chiwu demanded. "What did he say?" "He gave us 1 day to move," Doyen reported. "Then he'll attack." Lihana ran a hand through her hair. 1 day. That's something, I guess. But it's not enough. The fleet from Earth won't be here for 5 more days. "Then we need to buy more time," Doyen said. He walked to the bridge and sat in his chair. "Minho, I need you to send a message. Broadcast it everywhere. I want every human in the galaxy to hear this." Minho nodded. "Ready, sir?" Doyen took a breath and began to speak. "This is Captain Kang Doyen of the exploration ship Steadfast. We are currently facing the Vrelith invasion fleet. They have given us 1 day to surrender and move aside. We will not move. Not in 1 day, not ever. This ship stays here until Earth's fleet arrives or until we are destroyed. To all humans watching, understand this: we are not soldiers. We are explorers. We are scientists. But today we stand in the way of monsters, and we will not yield. This is what humanity does. When evil comes, we stand in its path. When tyrants threaten the innocent, we say no. Remember us. Remember that 1 small ship refused to bow. Remember that we chose to fight even when we could not win. Earth, we are buying you time. Use it well." Steadfast out. The message went out across every channel, every frequency, bouncing from relay station to relay station, until it reached every human settlement in known space. On Earth, people gathered in public squares to watch the live feed from the Steadfast. Children in schools stopped their lessons. Workers left their jobs. Everyone watched the tiny exploration ship facing down the greatest threat humanity had ever known. On Mars, the colonial government declared a state of emergency and began evacuating non-essential personnel. On Europa, the ice miners organized volunteer militia units. On Titan, engineers started converting cargo ships into makeshift warships. Throughout human space, something was awakening. Something ancient and powerful. The species that had climbed to the top of Earth's food chain, that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars, that had split the atom and reached the stars, was remembering what it was capable of when threatened. Back on the Vrelith flagship, High Admiral Thexfor watched the human transmission. His second-in-command, Commander Velthar, stood beside him. "They are insane," Velthar said. One ship cannot stop us. No, Thexvor agreed. But watch the response. Look at what is happening across their space. We have awakened something. They have no fleet that can match us. Not yet, Thexvor said quietly, but I begin to wonder if we have made a mistake. These humans do not behave like the others. They do not calculate. They do not surrender. They simply refuse to lose. He turned away from the view screen. Prepare the weapons. In one day we will see if their courage holds when death arrives. On the steadfast, Doyun looked at his crew. They were scared. But they were also determined. Get some rest, he told them. We have a long day ahead. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, and between the forces of two species, a small ship waited, refusing to move, refusing to die quietly. The clock was ticking. The day passed slowly. On the steadfast, the crew tried to maintain their routines, but tension filled every corridor. Captain Kang Doyan made his rounds, checking on each department, speaking quietly with his people. He wanted them to see him calm, confident, even if inside he felt neither. In the medical bay, Dr. Kim Tae-hyun was preparing for the worst. Bandages, medicines, emergency supplies all laid out and ready. He knew they probably wouldn't be needed. If the Vrelith attacked, the steadfast would be destroyed too quickly for medical care to matter. But doing something, anything, helped. How are you holding up, Doc? Doyan asked, entering the bay. Tae-hyun looked up and smiled weakly. I keep thinking about my family on Earth. My daughter just turned 7. I was supposed to be home for her birthday next month. You'll make it, Doyan said, though they both knew it was likely a lie. Will I? Tae-hyun set down the medical scanner he'd been calibrating. Captain, be honest with me. What are our chances? Doyun sat on one of the medical beds. Honestly? Almost 0. But that's not why we're here. Then why are we here? Because someone had to stand first, Doyan said. Someone had to show them that humans don't break easily. If we run, they win. If we fight and die, we've shown them something important. That we're crazy? That we're dangerous, Doyan corrected. There's a difference. In the engineering section, Lee Hana was working furiously. She'd been awake for nearly 20 hours straight, trying to find any advantage, any edge that might help them survive even a few seconds longer. Hana, you need to sleep, Park Ji-woo said, finding her surrounded by open panels and scattered tools. Can't, Hana muttered, not looking up. I almost have it. If I reroute power from life support to the shields and boost the frequency just right, we might be able to survive 1 shot, maybe 2. And then we die. But 2 shots is better than 1. Ji-woo knelt beside her. You've done everything you can. More than anyone could ask. Hana finally looked at her. Her eyes were red, exhausted. It's not enough. It's never enough. They have weapons that could crack planets. We have mining equipment and hope. Sometimes hope is enough, Ji-woo said quietly. On the bridge, Choi Min-ho was monitoring communications. The flood of messages from across human space hadn't stopped. Some were supportive, calling them heroes. Others were angry, saying they should run and save themselves. A few were from families saying goodbye just in case. One message came from Earth's military command. Encrypted, urgent. Minho decoded it and read. His face went pale. Captain, he called out. You need to see this. Doyan read the message. It was from Admiral Baek Jun, commander of Earth's first response fleet. Steadfast, we are moving at maximum speed. ETA 4 days. We see what you're doing. The whole species sees. Hold position. We're coming. Humanity remembers its defenders. 4 days. They only had to hold for 4 more days, but their deadline was in 3 hours. On the Vrelith flagship, High Admiral Thexvor stood in his command center, watching the countdown. Around him, his officers prepared weapon systems. The great cannons of 300 warships powered up, ready to reduce the Steadfast to atoms. Commander Velthar approached. Admiral, I must speak plainly. This delay has cost us. Our superiors are demanding answers. Why have we stopped for 1 ship? Because I am trying to understand them, Thexvor replied. Understand what? They are inferior, weak, they have no power. And yet they do not move. Thexvor pulled up a display showing the Steadfast. So small, so fragile. Velthar, in all our conquests, have you ever seen this? Seen what? Defiance without hope. We have faced strong opponents before. Species with powerful weapons, advanced technology. They fought because they thought they could win. But these humans, they know they will lose. And still they stand. Why? Velthar had no answer. A communication came through. Thexvor's superior, Supreme Overlord Krathnix, appeared on the screen. His form was even larger than Thexvor's, his scales darker, his voice more menacing. Thexvor, you have wasted an entire day on a single ship. Explain this failure. My lord, I was attempting to understand, and I do not care about understanding. I care about conquest. You will destroy that vessel immediately. The Empire does not negotiate with insects. As you command, Thexvor said, bowing his head. The communication ended. Thexvor stood still for a moment, then turned to his weapons officer. Target the human ship. All forward batteries. Prepare to fire. On the steadfast, alarms began to sound. Yunsora looked at her console in horror. Captain, they're powering weapons. All of them. Energy readings are off the scale. All hands battle stations, Doyen ordered calmly. Hana, activate your modifications. Already done, Hana's voice came through the speakers. Shields at maximum. It won't be enough, Captain. I know. Do it anyway. The crew strapped into their stations. Some prayed. Some cried. Some simply held hands with the person next to them. Doyen sat in his chair and activated the ship-wide communication. This is the captain. In a few moments, the Vrillith will attack. We knew this was coming. We've bought Earth 4 days. That's 4 days to prepare, 4 days to mobilize, 4 days that might save millions of lives. Whatever happens next, know that you served with honor. You stood when others would have run. You are the best crew I've ever known. It's been a privilege. He closed the channel and looked at Jiwoo. She was crying silently, but her hands were steady on her console. No regrets? He asked her softly. Only that we won't see how this ends, she replied. On the Vrillith flagship, the weapons officer reported. All batteries charged. Targeting locked. Fire, Thexvor commanded. But before the weapons could discharge, Choi Minho did something unexpected. He sent one final transmission, not to Earth, not to any human colony, but to the Vrillith fleet itself. It was a data package, compressed, carrying information. It contained humanity's history, videos of Earth's wars, images of cities burning and being rebuilt, records of plagues survived, disasters overcome. It showed humans fighting each other with savage fury for thousands of years. It showed weapons of terrible destruction. It showed the species that had turned its own planet into a graveyard multiple times and kept coming back. And most importantly, it showed what humans became when they were pushed too far. The transmission flooded into the Vrillith fleet's communication systems. Officers on dozens of ships paused to watch. They saw humans charging machine guns with nothing but knives. They saw cities fighting to the last defender. They saw a species that refused to surrender even when their cause was hopeless. Commander, Velthar watched the images and felt something he had never experienced before. Uncertainty. Fear. Admiral, he said slowly, these creatures are not like the others. They have been at war with themselves for their entire existence. They know nothing else. If we attack this ship, if we destroy it, what will they become? Thexvor watched the transmission. He saw human soldiers holding positions against impossible odds. He saw civilians picking up weapons to defend their homes. He saw a species that had spent its entire evolution learning to fight, to survive, to refuse defeat. Admiral, weapons ready, the weapons officer reported. Thexvor raised his hand to give the command. One word, that's all it would take. One word and the human ship would cease to exist. But he hesitated. On the steadfast, the crew waited for death. Seconds passed. Then minutes. The weapons that should have fired remained silent. What's happening? Sora asked. Why aren't they shooting? I don't know, Doyen admitted. He watched the view screen intently. Then Minho gasped. Captain, they're receiving our transmission. The one I sent. They're watching our history. Will it matter? Jiwoo asked. I don't know, Minho said. But maybe they'll understand. Maybe they'll see what they're about to start. On the Vrillith flagship, Thexvor lowered his hand. Hold fire. Sir? The weapons officer looked confused. I said hold fire. Thexvor stared at the images from Earth, at the humans who fought beyond reason, beyond hope. Velthar, if we destroy this ship, we will prove to these humans that we are their enemy, and the species has spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of destroying their enemies. But we are superior, Velthar protested weakly. Are we? Thexvor pointed at the screen. We have technology. We have numbers. But they have something else. Something we have never faced. They have the will to fight without hope of victory. They have rage that does not fade. They have the patience to wait generations for revenge. He turned to face his second. If we fire now, we do not start a conquest. We start a war, a real war, and I am not certain we will win it. In that moment, in the darkness of space, the course of galactic history shifted. The Vrelith weapons remained silent. The Steadfast remained intact, and somewhere across vast distances human ships were gathering. An armada was forming. Earth was awakening. The silence stretched on. Minutes became an hour. The Vrelith weapons stayed powered but didn't fire. On the Steadfast, the crew remained at their stations, barely breathing, waiting for the end that refused to come. Captain Kang Do-yun watched his displays, trying to understand what was happening. The alien fleet should have destroyed them by now. Instead, they just waited, like they were thinking. Deciding, Captain, Choi Minho said quietly. I'm picking up increased communication between the Vrelith ships. A lot of it. They're arguing about something. Can you translate some of it? The words don't convert well, but it seems like they're debating whether to attack us. Some want to fire immediately. Others are recommending caution. Park Ji-woo looked up from her console. Caution? Since when do the Vrelith show caution? Since they saw what we sent them, Minho replied. That transmission about our history. They're studying it. Analyzing it. I think they're realizing that we're different from the species they've conquered before. Lee Hana's voice came through the speakers. Different how? We're still outgunned by about 1,000,000 to 1. Different because we don't care about the odds, Do-yun said softly. He stood and walked to the view screen, staring at the alien fleet. They've fought rational opponents, species that surrender when defeat is logical. But humans aren't rational when we're threatened. We're vengeful. Then everything changed at once. New contacts appeared on the sensors. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Ships emerging from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Human ships. Military vessels, cargo haulers, civilian craft, mining ships. Anything that could fly and carry a weapon. Captain, Yoon Sora's voice was shaking. I'm reading massive reinforcements. They're coming from everywhere. Earth, Mars, the outer colonies. Sir, there are thousands of them. Do-yun felt his heart skip. They weren't supposed to be here for 3 more days. They pushed their engines past safety limits, Minho explained, reading incoming data. The entire fleet, all of them, they burned their drives at maximum output. Some of the older ships probably destroyed their engines getting here. He looked up, eyes wet. They came for us, Captain. All of them. On the bridge display, Do-yun could see the approaching vessels. They weren't organized like the Vrelith fleet. They flew in loose formations, some damaged from their desperate rush through space, but they kept coming. Wave after wave, a transmission came through, a voice Do-yun didn't recognize, strong, angry. Vrelith fleet, this is Admiral Baek-jun of Earth's first response fleet. You have attacked our colonies. You have killed our people. You have threatened one of our ships. We are here to respond. You have one chance to withdraw. Take it or face the consequences. On the Vrelith flagship, High Admiral Thexfor stared at his displays in disbelief. The human ships kept appearing. His sensors couldn't get an accurate count because more arrived every few seconds. How many? He demanded. At least 5,000, Admiral, his sensor officer reported. No, wait. More coming. 7,008, they're still arriving. Commander Velthar moved beside him. They came. The entire species came. Impossible, Thexfor said. No species mobilizes this quickly. It takes weeks to gather a fleet this size, months. They did it in days. Because we threatened one of their ships, Velthar said quietly. Because we showed them we were coming. They dropped everything and came to fight. Thexfor pulled up tactical displays. The human ships were surrounding his fleet. They weren't approaching peacefully. They weren't communicating. They weren't negotiating. They were taking attack positions. Admiral, they haven't powered weapons yet, his tactical officer reported. They're waiting. For what? For us to make a choice. Thexfor knew he should feel confident. His ships were more advanced. His weapons more powerful. His warriors more experienced. But looking at the sea of human vessels surrounding him, he felt something else. Doubt. These humans had crossed impossible distances in impossible time. They had pushed their technology to the breaking point just to get here, and they weren't here to talk. They were here for war. Open a channel, Thexfor ordered, to the human admiral. Moments later, Admiral Baek-jun's face appeared on the screen. He was an older human with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen combat before. Admiral Thexvor, June said. No greeting, no diplomacy, just a statement of fact. Admiral June, your display of force is impressive, but you are still outnumbered. Our technology is superior, maybe, June replied. But here's what you need to understand about humans, Admiral. We don't fight to win. We fight because we refuse to lose. There's a difference. That makes no sense, doesn't it? June leaned forward. You've conquered 47 civilizations, impressive. But those civilizations fought rationally. They calculated odds. They valued survival. Humans don't work that way. If you destroy one of our ships, we send 10 more. If you kill 1 million of us, 10 million will volunteer for revenge. We are not like the others you've faced. We are the species that turned our own planet into a battleground for 10,000 years and called it progress. Thexvor was silent. Here's my offer, June continued. Leave, now. Turn your fleet around and go back to wherever you came from. Never return to human space. Do this and we let you live. Refuse and we will show you what happens when you wake up humanity. You cannot win this battle, Thexvor said, but his voice lacked conviction. You're probably right, June agreed. We'll lose ships. Thousands of them. Millions of people will die, but so will you. And when this battle is over, even if you win, Earth will send more ships. And more, and more. We will never stop. We will hunt your empire across the galaxy if we have to. We will learn your technology, adapt it, improve it, and turn it against you. That's what humans do. We learn from our enemies and become stronger. On the Steadfast, the crew listened to the conversation. Doyen felt pride swell in his chest. His small ship had held the line just long enough. Now the rest of humanity had arrived. Captain, Jiwoo said, multiple human ships are hailing us. They want to know if we're okay. Tell them we're fine, Doyen replied. We held position. Mission accomplished. Around them, the human fleet waited. Some of the ships were military vessels, sleek and deadly. Others were converted cargo haulers with missiles strapped to their hulls. There were mining ships with plasma drills aimed forward like weapons. There were even luxury liners that had been turned into troop carriers. A young woman named Song Mirai sat in the cockpit of a converted freighter, her hand steady on the weapons controls. She'd been a cargo pilot 2 days ago. Now she was part of an armada. When the call had come, when humanity learned about the Vrelith threat and the Steadfast stand, she hadn't hesitated. She'd volunteered immediately. Beside her and another fighter was Shin Hyun-woo. He was actually a combat pilot, one of the few humans with real military training. He'd been assigned to lead a squadron of volunteers. Most of them had never flown in combat before. But they were here. Ready to fight. Ready to die if necessary. All fighters, this is lead, Hyun-woo said over the communication channel. Hold position. Wait for the order. And remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who ever lived and every human who will ever be born. Make them count. On the Vrelith flagship, Thexvor made his decision. He'd lived his entire life conquering. He'd never retreated. Never surrendered. But looking at the mass of human ships, understanding what they represented, he knew this was different. Admiral June, he said slowly, I will withdraw my fleet. But no, this is not a surrender. It is a tactical decision. We will return. If you do, June replied coldly, we'll be ready, and next time we won't wait for you to fire first. The transmission ended. Thexvor turned to his fleet. All ships, reverse course. We are leaving this system. Admiral, this is unprecedented, Velthar protested. The Empire will see this as weakness. The Empire will see this as wisdom, Thexvor replied. We came here expecting another easy conquest. Instead, we found a species that would rather die than yield. If we fight them now, even if we win, we will lose too many ships. The cost is too high. Slowly, the Vrelith fleet began to turn. 300 massive warships changing course, moving away from Earth's territory. It took hours for the entire fleet to reposition and accelerate out of the system. The human ships watched them go. No one fired. No one pursued. They simply watched as the threat that had destroyed 47 civilizations retreated from one determined species. On the Steadfast, the crew finally allowed themselves to breathe. The tension that had held them for 3 days broke all at once. Some laughed. Some cried. Yoon Sora collapsed at her station, exhausted. Lihana emerged from engineering, covered in grease and sweat, and hugged the first person she saw. Captain Kang Do-yun sat in his chair and closed his eyes. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd done it, Captain, Minho said. Admiral June is hailing us. Do-yun opened his eyes and straightened his uniform. Put him through. June's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling slightly. Captain Kang, you held the line. We did what was necessary, sir. You did more than that. You showed the galaxy what humans are capable of. That ship of yours became a symbol. People across all of human space saw you stand alone against 300 warships. They saw you refuse to move. And they responded. 3 months had passed since the standoff at Kepler 442. The Steadfast had been towed back to Earth, too damaged to fly under its own power. Now it sat in orbital dock above the planet, surrounded by construction platforms and engineering crews. Captain Kang Do-yun stood at the observation window of the repair station, watching workers swarm over his ship. They weren't just fixing it, they were preserving it. The Steadfast would never fly again, but it would exist forever as a reminder. A monument to the day humanity refused to bow. It looks smaller than I remember, said a voice behind him. Do-yun turned to see Admiral Baek-jun approaching. The older man looked tired but satisfied. It was always small, Do-yun replied. We just made it seem bigger. June stood beside him looking at the ship. You know they're planning a museum around it? Interactive displays, historical exhibits, the whole thing. Children will come here to learn about the day we stood up to the Vrelith. I hope they learn the right lessons. What lessons would those be? Do-yun thought for a moment. That courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and standing anyway. That one person, one ship, one moment can change everything. That humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our refusal to give up. June nodded slowly. Those are good lessons. Come with me, Captain. There's something you need to see. They took a shuttle down to Earth's surface to a military facility outside of Geneva. As they descended, Do-yun saw hundreds of ships in construction. Not exploration vessels. Warships, real ones built specifically for combat. We're preparing, June explained as they landed. The Vrelith will be back someday, and when they come, we'll be ready. Inside the facility, Do-yun was led to a massive hangar. What he saw there made him stop in his tracks. A ship, enormous, sleek, and deadly. It dwarfed everything around it. We call it the Defiance class, June said, first of a new generation of human warships. We took every piece of Vrelith technology we could analyze from sensor readings during the standoff. Combined it with our own engineering. These ships are faster, stronger, and more heavily armed than anything we've ever built. How many are you building? 200 to start, with plans for thousands more. June walked toward the massive vessel. The Vrelith taught us something important, Captain. The galaxy is not a peaceful place. There are empires out there that respect only strength. So we're going to be strong. They entered the ship. Inside, hundreds of workers were installing systems, running cables, calibrating weapons. At the heart of the vessel was the bridge, more advanced than anything Do-yun had ever seen. This is where you come in, June said. We want you to captain the first Defiance-class ship. We want the man who stood alone against 300 warships to lead humanity's response fleet. Do-yun was quiet for a long moment. Admiral, I'm not a soldier. I'm an explorer. You were an explorer, June corrected. Now you're a symbol. People need to see you leading this effort. They need to know that the same courage that made you stand at Kepler will protect Earth. What about my crew? They're all being offered positions. Park Ji-woo is already being trained as your first officer. Lee-hana is consulting on the engineering systems. They built this ship with her input, actually. She's made it better than our original designs. Choi Minho will handle communications. Yoon Sora is training with our best weapons officers. Even Dr. Kim Tae-hyun has agreed to serve as chief medical officer. Do-yun walked to the captain's chair and sat down slowly. It felt different from the Steadfast. More imposing. More serious. When does it launch? He asked. 6 months. We're calling it the Steadfast 2. Do-yun smiled at that. Of course you are. While Earth prepared for war, the galaxy was changing in other ways. Species that had heard about the human standoff began reaching out. Some wanted alliances. Others wanted protection from the Vrelith. A few just wanted to understand the species that had made the Empire retreat. On a distant station, 3 ambassadors from different civilizations met with human diplomats. They represented species that had also been threatened by the Vrelith, but had chosen to surrender rather than fight. We wish to join your alliance, one ambassador said. His species had been enslaved by the Vrelith for decades. If you're willing to fight them, we want to help. The human diplomat, a woman named Nam Yunji, who had previously been the navigator on the Steadfast, considered this carefully. An alliance means we defend each other. If the Vrelith attack you, we respond. If they attack us, you respond. Are you willing to fight? We are willing to learn how, the ambassador replied. Your species has shown us that resistance is possible. Teach us to be brave like you. This conversation was happening across multiple star systems. Humanity, which had been relatively isolated before the Vrelith appeared, was suddenly at the center of galactic politics. Species wanted to be allied with the humans, some because they admired human courage, others because they feared human rage. On the Vrelith homeworld, things were very different. High Admiral HFY stood before the Supreme Council, defending his decision to retreat. You abandoned a conquest, Supreme Overlord Krathnix accused. For the first time in our history, a Vrelith fleet turned away from battle. I saved the fleet, HFY replied calmly. The humans were mobilizing their entire species. If we had fought, we would have won the battle but lost too many ships. The cost would have crippled our empire. You fear them. I respect them, HFY corrected. There is a difference. These humans are not like the species we have conquered before. They are warriors by nature. Their entire civilization is built on conflict and survival. Fighting them will not be easy. Another council member spoke up. Then what do you suggest? We study them. We learn their weaknesses. We prepare properly, and when we return to human space, we do not underestimate them again. But even as HFY spoke, he knew something had changed. The Empire's aura of invincibility was broken. Word had spread across the galaxy that the mighty Vrelith had retreated from a single human ship. Other species were beginning to resist. Rebellions were starting on conquered worlds. Commander Velthar found HFY later in his private quarters. The Admiral was studying human history, trying to understand the species that had stopped his conquest. What are you learning? Velthar asked. That we made a mistake, HFY replied. Look at this. Earth's history. For thousands of years, they fought each other. Constantly. Wars over land, resources, beliefs, pride. They nearly destroyed themselves multiple times. And every time they survived and came back stronger. He pulled up images of human conflicts. Ancient battles with swords. Modern wars with missiles. It was all violence, all struggle. They are the galaxy's apex predators, HFY continued. Not because they're the strongest, but because they never stop fighting. They adapt. They learn. They improve. And they remember their enemies. He looked at Velthar. We showed them we were their enemy. That was our mistake. Back on Earth in a small apartment in Seoul, Park Ji-woo sat with her family. She'd been given leave before reporting for training on the Steadfast too. Her mother held her hand tightly. Do you have to go back? Her mother asked. You almost died out there. I know, Mom, Ji-woo said gently. But I have to. We started something. Now we have to see it through. What if they come back? What if next time you can't stop them? Ji-woo smiled. Then we fight anyway. That's what humans do. Across Earth and its colonies, similar conversations were happening. Young people were joining the military in record numbers. Engineers were developing new weapons. Scientists were studying alien technology. The entire species was preparing for the war that might come. But there was hope too. Alliances were forming. Trade agreements were being signed. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy. They had friends now, partners who had seen them stand against evil and wanted to stand with them. On the day the Steadfast 2 launched, millions gathered to watch. The massive warship lifted from Earth's surface, its engines blazing. On the bridge, Captain Kang Do-yeon sat in his chair surrounded by his crew. The same crew that had faced the Vrelith with nothing but courage and hope. All systems ready, Lee Hana reported from engineering. Course plotted for patrol route Alpha 7, Nam Yunji said from navigation. All weapon systems operational, Yoon Sora confirmed. Do-yeon looked at his first officer. Park Ji-woo smiled at him. They'd survived the impossible together. Now they would protect humanity together. Take us out, Do-yeon ordered. The Steadfast 2 moved away from Earth, joining a fleet of other new warships. They flew in formation, a show of strength and determination. Around them, smaller vessels joined in. Civilian ships that had answered the call. Volunteer crews who had rushed to Kepler. They flew together as a reminder. Humanity was no longer just explorers. They were defenders, protectors, warriors when necessary. In the months and years that followed, the Vrelith never returned to human space. They found easier targets elsewhere. But the memory of their retreat spread across the galaxy. Other empires, other would-be conquerors heard the story and adjusted their plans. Humanity was marked as dangerous, not to be provoked, and that was fine with the humans. They didn't want to conquer. They wanted to explore, to learn, to live in peace. But they had learned an important lesson. Peace had to be protected. Freedom had to be defended. And sometimes,